Are we
All
live?
right, we are live. And so welcome to the No Purpose Without Love podcast. I'm your host Dave Gueresso, and I have with me today Alicia Vaz of Daredream. And she is
Yeah.
here to talk to us about what Daredream's all about, and she's going to share some amazing insights with us about her journey so far and what she's currently working on. And hopefully, all of you, our listeners, will get to hear some amazing insights and incredible wisdom from Alicia as she shares with us. So, why don't you start, Alicia, by just telling us a little bit who you are, what you do, and then I'd like to get into the story of the journey of how you got to where you are.
Who am I? Thank you, David, for this opportunity. It has been a pleasure getting to know you.
Likewise.
So who am I? First and foremost, I like to say a devoted Christ follower. For sure. I live in Stevenson Ranch, California right now. Happily married, 23 years, and two kids, 20 and 15, almost 15 years old. But um, I run a business. It is called Daredream. And what we do is we pretty much, we have an online community for Christian entrepreneurs who are just starting out. So my desire really is to integrate faith and work.
Mhm.
So to help these young entrepreneurs to, from their faith, work. That is probably the simplest way to say that.
Mhm.
Understanding how important your belief, what you believe, how that is, it goes into your work and how you show up in what you do
Mhm.
every day. So that is
Awesome.
a little bit about me. I know you said I'm going to share some amazing insights. So I'm like, you just I'm like, really? I hope so.
You are. And Frank has
I hope
actually joined us. Frank is watching
I
us. Frank, feel free
I
to
hope
ask
so.
questions or comments if you have any.
Hello,
Um,
Frank. Hello, Frank.
Certainly you will have something, Alicia. I know you well enough. So tell us the journey, just, so our listeners can glean some of that insight now. What is the journey that led you to where you are today?
Yet the journey. It has been a long one. And it's one of those where I think where I am is not where I had initially planned to be. I started off as doing a small group within my church. And this was just prior to the pandemic. So, before all of that, just backing up a bit, I've been a homeschool mom for a long time. And I got to a point where I wanted to be around adults. I think that is part of it. I've been so focused on the kids, but I'd had a salon before, and but I devoted a lot of my time to the my kids and my husband, and we talked about what can I do that that I'm passionate about, something that I have interest in, and I do, which was entrepreneurship and business, building businesses. So we decided to start a small group at my church, and that went well for a while. I mean, there's more to that story, but I know in the interest of time, I'm just kind of like giving you the abridged version. But we did start a group there, which turned out really well. But the pandemic came and we had to shift online. So this was new territory for me. It's like not a place where I thought I would have been, like I said, in front of the camera, encouraging people in such a big um, way. But that happened, which led to us being online. So now I'm able to reach people not just in the area where I started off, which was in Washington, D.C., but all over the world, all different countries. And people are just coming to these, gatherings that we were having every week. So that is where, we meet regularly. It was to just encourage entrepreneurs on their journey. I felt that they needed that. I felt I needed it when I had a business. There wasn't someone there to support and encourage me, to ask questions, to brainstorm ideas. I operated my salon in New York for roughly 5 years, a little over 5 years. And at some point, I think burnout set in. And that's just being honest. It was successful. In I guess you say I purchased the building that we were renting at some point, and then eventually had to like sell the building and move on. But I often imagine, think about like what would have happened if I had known some of the things like today when it comes to starting a business. If I had someone that I was able to speak to, someone who was speaking into my life, what would have been different? And that just stuck with me because I was really passionate about the beauty industry. I love that. But I also realized, when I stopped and reflected on like why, what did I do? Because I think it's important for us to actually, reflect, look at what was and see what I could have learned from it, which I did. And I recognized that I didn't have support. This was a long, hard journey as an entrepreneur, not in the way that I needed, right? So I burned out.
Yeah.
And today now, when I, thought about like, what can I do, considering what I know, and my experiences, naturally, I think about people like myself who've had dreams for owning a business, for starting something, and not having that support while they're doing it. And what happens most times is that it dies. It
Mhm.
goes nowhere. A lot of good businesses just die.
Mhm.
So I am really eager to help those who are, you have a dream for a business and you might be feeling a little stuck, that there's support and training available within the Daydream community for you.
Yeah, so that's one insight too that I picked up is a lot of
Hmm.
what you didn't have in the past is what led to you going, you know what? I
Hmm.
need to create something here. And
Yes.
this is one
Hmm.
of the beauties of being the Imago Dei or made in the image of God, that we get to create like our creator creates, right? And
Yes.
it's awesome that you have found a way to create something that doesn't yet exist, at least in the community or the space that you're living in. And a lot of that was birthed from, hey, I needed this. I needed
Yeah.
this. I didn't have it. And now it's available for others. So that's awesome. That
Yeah.
is a huge insight. See, I told you there's going to be insights, Alicia.
All right. Well, I thank you because I just thought it's like, as I was getting ready to start again, that is the kind of thought I'm like, I needed that, and I created that for myself. But now I feel like there are a lot of other people out there like myself who might just need it as well. I'm certain that they do. I have met so many of them.
I'm certain, and I'm one of them, Alicia. We need each other for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So next question, what role has being a follower of Jesus played in this journey for you so far?
Well, good question. Certainly, I couldn't do this without him. Yeah, I couldn't do this as well. Maybe that is a better way to put it. I could do it, but considering the challenges, the many challenges that we face as we're entrepreneurs, we're trying to grow a business, and it is a long journey, and sometimes it's really hard, and you may even want to give up. I've had moments like, should I give this thing up? Right? Things aren't working as quickly as I think. Hey, see that? I think that they should, but just my faith, my trust in Jesus, just always kept me grounded. Having that relationship, having my hope be in Jesus, and trusting His timing, it is so important. It's so important for all of us entrepreneurs as we're working on our businesses. Like whose beat are you moving to? Who, like whose pace, whose step? And I am turning to him, and it gives me peace. It gives me peace, and I am hopeful if I am upright in the way how I conduct myself, in the way how I serve people, in the way how I honor him with all that I do. In time, I hesitate because I was about to say the success will happen, but that is a lie too. I realize success is happening. People's lives are being transformed, and
Yes.
it's how you're measuring it is what I realize. Because there was a time I was thinking of success as like, well, I need to have thousands of followers and having 10K months. And listen, those things are great. But what happens and what has happened, um, you miss the small wins.
Yes.
You miss being present where you are right now in the things God is doing in your life and the people around you. The small circle that you're influencing, right? The people who you are being light to, the people who you are by your words, by your deeds, come to know Jesus. And it's small but big. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
have
It
stopped
is.
comparing myself to what I've heard success should be, or that's how you measure it, and start to realize that the one person that I was able to pour into today, that is success, right? I'm reminded of the sheep, the 99 and the one, and Jesus going for that one, and that just fuels me up. It just tells me to feel good, like, well, if he did it, it was good enough for him, and he went for one. I am happy with this too. This pleases you,
Mm-hmm.
So all of that to say this, yes.
Got it. Yeah, and one of the things he's teaching me too is that even when
Mm-hmm.
things aren't going well, he's
Mm-hmm.
still taking care of me, right? And I think that's part of the journey, right? As we go towards anything that anything worthwhile has a cost
Mm-hmm.
associated with it, and it's not always a monetary cost, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
cost of your time, your energy, your emotional reserves, all of that, and it's not easy sometimes. We had
Yeah.
talked about that before we jumped on this podcast, that it's not easy, but it's worth it, right? And some of the
Yeah.
thing that you had said reminded me that I think it's a friend of mine that said
Mm-hmm.
before several times that the only one we're really competing against or should be comparing ourselves to is ourselves, right? Because
Yeah.
we're challenging ourselves every day to become better, to become more Christ-like, and that's worth pursuing, right? To always seek
Yeah.
to become better, to learn more, to grow. And so
Yes.
that's the one comparison that's healthy. Right? How am I
I
now compared to last year? Right.
you said, well, even looking at that world, like how I look at what is good, it's a shift in our thinking that has to happen. Like for me, what I would say was good, but when I started use a different filter, because good might still be a little painful, but in the grander scheme of things, right? Even though that was a little challenging for me, I have to trust my Savior, my God, that He hasn't left me, He hasn't forsaken me. That even though I might complain and gripe, and I'm getting better at complaining less. It's like, okay, this has to happen so that something beyond this moment, like future self, God's bigger plan. I can't thwart that, but still, I just complain less, trust more,
Mm-hmm.
in and get ready for whatever He's going to put you through, because in those challenging times, I've realized the stretching, how good it is for me, how good it was for me. We just want to avoid it. We just want to arrive. I'm starting a business. I want to get to the end. And we miss the beautiful steps in between, right? We just want to like land somewhere over there that someone said that that is what success is. And he's like, enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want us to enjoy the journey.
And who we're
Yeah.
becoming, right?
Yeah.
That's we're
Yes.
we're becoming better by the
Yes.
day, and the journey is wonderful when we choose to focus with gratitude on what it's bringing.
There you go. Hmm.
So I'm reading some comments here from Frank, who's watching us. He said he graduated this year with a degree in the entertainment business, and his passion is in film production, producing, and acting. He said they taught him more about entrepreneurship and being a business owner. He recently opened a Shopify business, but he says he feels stuck with his production company. Had a partner with the business, but he said he balanced each other out, but he's stuck in the fact that right now he feels like he's flying solo and is looking for the right person to partner with, and that hasn't been easy. So any thoughts that you have to share with Frank on that?
Serious some prayers for sure. Be praying and seeking God. I mean, and I say this, and it was like it seems like a simple thing to do, but sometimes like stepping back and listening a little bit more, even waiting well, because I think when I zoom out a bit, your perspective, like change of pace and place, gives fresh perspective. When we're in the trenches and we're going and we're going and we're going, sometimes you can't even see the other edges. Like we're just so focused on the challenges, but just stepping back a bit, even getting wise counsel. Like someone on the outside looking in. We might be missing things because a lot of times we are just so in love with our ideas, like, and we can't see opportunities elsewhere. So that could be it. But I really believe, like, just seeking God in prayer and asking the question. It's a simple thing. It's like, what should my next step be? Am I working with you? Am I going ahead of you? It's like, should I slow? Like, I want to know these things as I'm about to take these steps, because I know from experience, again, I'm anxious and we shouldn't be, right? I want to be able to be at peace as I'm making my steps. And I think sometimes you just need to throw yourself into like the word, read the word, listen and let God say something to you. The Spirit will say something to you, you know. Like I remember doing something one time back because I had a lot of, I would say, juggling a lot of balls. And I remember when was the last time, like what I remember when God told me, like he spoke something to me, like I because when you're in business, you're just like going, and I want to do this and I need to do the next thing and so forth. And that is us working in our own strength. And I want to be working with him, and I had to remind myself, like, the last thing he told me to do, and am I doing that? Right? And that helped me kind of like reorient myself. I'm just like, okay, God, I remember that moment when this idea, this revelation came to me for this. I remember how I felt, but then I think what I did, I just like, I just got going and I started to move and do stuff, and the same vigor and prayer discipline that I had, when I was praying about revelation and showing me something, I don't think I was doing that as much, right? So I had to go back to when I was in that sweet space where God was just like downloading stuff, like I was just getting stuff, and I had to just take a step back. But that's just a thought. I mean, it could be other things. But he might want to connect with my husband. I'd say that my husband is an aspiring screenwriter and directing films. That's what an area. So maybe they can connect, and Ralston, my husband, can offer some insights more specifically to that area where he's at. That might be another way too. You see, when we connect and we talk about stuff, you never know. I like to connect people. That's also true too.
Well,
So
there you
yeah,
have it,
connecting with
Frank.
my husband.
Maybe he actually said, though, he said, you gave me the key to step back and
Oh,
just pray and give it to God. And
all
so,
right, there you go.
and
I love that.
I like the point you made too, Alicia, that, sometimes when we feel stuck, the best thing to do is to go back and look at the last thing God said and just do that.
Hmm. Yeah,
So also
just
great.
reorient. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, no, great insight. Let's move on. Let's move to the next thing here. So you believe that it's important to integrate work and faith together. So
Hmm.
in a time where it's so uncomfortable for people to
Hmm.
integrate those two, why do you believe that that's important today?
Yeah, I think on a bigger scale, the world needs it. We may not think that we do, but I observe so much brokenness. Yeah, and I that's the grander reason why as I do what I do, trying to get entrepreneurs to be more visible in the world. If I can help them to grow businesses and working from that place, like like filled, from a full cup, like they're positioned around the world like businesses, right? People are going to be engaging with your business on some level in some ways, and we need more light in the world. you know it is so important. I can't do this without Jesus. I can't. I will not. But if we can have more people out there who are faith filled and whatever God has called you to do, because it doesn't all have to mean that I have to go to some third world country or it doesn't. Wherever you are, right, and you can incorporate the things that we know a person who is faith filled. This is how you operate. People get to see that. That is important. They got to see how you treat people, how you love people and care for people, care for the things that God has given you. Right? So that faith element, that is everything we need. Like it's in the word, everything
Yeah.
that we need. So we look to that so we can have a better society, better world. I mean, it is important. And that's how I come at it. I mean, I don't know what your take is on that, but that is how I feel when I think of integrating faith and work. It's not this or that. It's from this that happens. It's from faith that you work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it is true. But here's another way that I see it too, because I know that I can't do it without God. But in recent days, I'm realizing that I can't do it without my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ either. Right. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think that we were meant to be part of a larger whole. And especially when we talk about Western civilization or
Mm-hmm.
Western culture, it's very individualistic. We tend to do
Mm-hmm.
things in a silo, in a box, and we're taught from the very beginning, you get to pick your spouse, you get to pick your job, you get to go live in
Right.
your house and your community and do things the way you want it. And we say
Mm.
things like, I can't wait to leave my parents' house so I can go do what
So
I
true.
want, right? Like that's just part of an individualistic culture. Whereas if you go out in Eastern cultures, it's a lot more collectivist. Families
Mm-hmm.
do things together till the day they die, right? Like, and they're
Yes.
always part of it. And so, and I understand that both have pros and cons. But
Mm-hmm.
I think too is like my company name's Beacon Leaders because what does a beacon do? A beacon is a guiding light
Yes.
to others. Well, what happens when I, as the beacon for others, start to feel stuck, like Frank's talking about? Well, I have somebody like you, Alicia, that I get to
Yeah.
chat with every now and then that actually does provide a guiding light for me as well. It
Yeah.
reminds me that the things that I do are important. You remind me that God is still with me. You remind me that you are still with me. And all of this stuff
Yes.
encourages me and causes me to want to keep moving in days when I otherwise don't. 313 is a special number, right? Because it's
Why so?
Hebrews
Oh.
3:13, right? As long as it's called today, encourage one another. That's the first half of the verse. But that
Mm.
part is what I really want to focus on because as long as there's breath in our bodies, we need encouragement day after day after
Mm-hmm.
day, because life just has a way of sucking the life out of us, if you will.
It does. Yeah, and you need to be around like-hearted people.
Mhm.
That is important, because like you said, some days when you are down, I can share some of my encouragement. I can lift you up, right?
Yes.
This is why we need a community of people we need to support one
That's,
another.
that's right.
So community is a big deal for me. It's all about the community.
That's
you know no man is an island. So
that's right.
we need to find a place, a group of people that you connect with, like,
That's
right, we will call you on your crap too. All right, because sometimes we're not perfect beings, right? We're
mhm.
human. So we need that, like, accountability and equipping, and that is what we're here for one another. So I like that you said that. That is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about, let's talk about leadership for a second, right? Because this is
Mm-hmm.
probably a good segue. And when I say leadership, I have to clarify for the listeners, I'm not talking about being a boss at a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leadership really is so much more than that. It's about influence, and it cascades to all spheres of influence in our lives. So in your day to day, what role
Mm-hmm.
does leadership play in your life?
Yeah, I am always concerned about how am I representing the body.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
it is key. And it doesn't matter what you do, where you are, there's a responsibility that we each have. We're all leaders. We're leading somebody. Somebody's watching you, right? So it is so important that you conduct yourself as such. Someone worthy of emulating, following. I'm following Jesus, and then they follow me. So if I am following the best leader of all, right?
Hmm.
And then you see me, which should, he rubs off on me,
Hmm.
I rub off on you. So I think it is key to how we lead ourselves, how we, the things we say, the things we do, even, like your actions, because you can say a lot of things, but then you do something differently. It is so important. There's such a responsibility on us individually, to show up. And we say we love Jesus, so we got to represent, we got to honor him, right? How
That's
we
right.
treat our kids, our spouses, our friends. Like, how are we leading in those areas, even?
Yes.
That's important, like, really selflessness. Like, how is that? Or is it just about what you want and you get in ahead and you will step on people? And that is not good leadership.
Yeah.
you know and in leadership also, like, bringing people along with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, it's not about me and I'm on the top and you, it's not about that. There's space for us all, but we have a responsibility as leaders, how we show up every day.
Yeah. So this is a good segue into the next question that I have for you, Alicia,
Mm-hmm.
because I think how we show up, right, definitely has an impact. And you and I had talked again before we jumped on this call about authentic leadership, right? What does it mean to show up authentically? And how does a person show up authentically as they
Mm-hmm.
live out their gifting or whatever they're called to in life? What are your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on that?
Yeah, don't bluff. It's okay to have like a limp, sort of. I would say, like, I'm leading with a limp. um, you don't have to put on a show, right? Just being honest. Leaders hurt, right? We feel things,
Yes.
but it's how you respond, like when you're down, like when those challenges come. And they will, if you haven't been met with anything yet, anything hard, it will come. And you, in those moments, like, the person you become, how you respond. like you forget. And I say this to my kids often, remember your training. It is just a kind of like a trigger term, because sometimes, we go through stuff and we're feeling a certain way. And I say to them to just, and I say, remember your training, remembering what we know to be true, what God says. Because in the moment, you're heated and you just want to be angry and you just want to hold on to things and all these things. Just remember your training.
Yeah.
And for us, we say that to just remind ourselves, oh, yeah, this too shall pass.
Yes.
Right? This too shall pass. I'm going through something. I don't know why exactly, but just
Everything is temporary.
yeah. But just be open. Be who He created you to be, and stop trying to look, like someone else. This is how I handle stuff, and sometimes, you know, it's not always quick to resolve things. You may take a longer time to work through some things than I would, and just being okay with what that is for you, right? Like, give yourself some space, some grace, maybe
Yeah,
grace.
I love that. Grace. Another
Mm,
friend of mine talks
hmm.
about grace, especially in a time of overwhelm, how important that is.
Yes. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about mindset. I know you kind of got into that here just a minute ago as you're sharing these things, but
Hmm.
like, what else would you say as far as the role that mindset plays as we do this and as we show up authentically?
Yeah. What you believe is important, right? That is mindset. That is about what you're telling yourself, the lies that sometimes we believe, right? And that informs what we do next, whatever that is. And there's a way, there's truth. There's a way to know what is true. You seek the word, you go to the word. I look to the word for what is actually true. People may say things about you, they may hurt your feelings. Is it true? I mean, and if there is some truth to what they said, I mean, maybe, okay, I need to go and work on this, then work on it, right? But don't let it defeat you. We are growing, you know, it's just extending that seem like grace to each other, to one another. Like, it's a process. I don't have it all figured out. I may mess up, but be careful what you're telling yourself, like
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
you are in Christ, who I am. And He accepts me, He loves me,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
created me. Yeah, I'm broken here, I'm struggling with this thing, but it doesn't make me like a terrible person. Like, I did something bad. I say this to my son sometimes, who you are, what you do.
Mhm.
Who you are, I love.
Mhm.
I will always love. What you did, I didn't like that.
Mhm.
There is a difference. I don't want him to ever like walk away being defining himself by some mistake that he made. He made a
Mhm.
mistake. I am I still love you. And
Yeah.
and I want that to kind of like get into the fiber of his being, like, I made a mistake and I'm going to try not to do that same, thing that I did before. But don't believe the lie. It's a lot has to do with what you believe.
Yes.
If like, you're forgiven, God has already forgiven us, right? Let it
Right.
go and let
Yeah.
Him in.
Yeah.
You know, it'll
Yeah.
help shape what you do,
Yeah.
but what you're believing.
That's powerful, Alicia. It's like things are going to happen all the time that we don't like. People are going to let
Hmm.
us down. But at the end of the day, to know that we're loved and to continue to be able to let that love flow onto others is what keeps things going, right? That's what keeps us
Yeah.
united and keeps things strong, is to make that
Yes.
the priority even above the
Yeah.
thing, right? Whatever that thing may be.
We got to keep reminding ourselves that that is it, and this is why you have to stay um, filled, like the books you're reading, the things that you're surrounding yourself with, like truly, like think about what you're thinking about. right? Right?
Hmm.
Because it helps. It will influence your behavior.
Yes.
So, check yourself, check, television programs. I don't want too much of this kind of, like negativity in my life.
Right.
I want to be mindful of, because in small ways, it's subtle, but it is helping to shape your thoughts,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
then what starts to seed in your heart, and it's from your heart that things flow,
Yes.
right? So I want to make sure, like the scripture talks about guarding our hearts.
Yes.
So I am trying to guard my heart. I prioritize my like relationship with Christ, like the time I spent with him. I spend with him in the word, what I do, how I start my day. It just becomes, it has, because I know no other way. Whenever if I don't start with him in some serious prayer time, it just, I feel it, like I need that kind of like vitamin, like, Holy Spirit power just help me. I'm praying over, like what I have to do. Like I'm about to work, you and me, God, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for this and that today, and I just want you to prepare me. These are kind of things you do, just to take care of self, like your mind.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So we have about what, 3.5 minutes left.
Oh, we
And
do. Okay.
before we end, I want to have you
Yes.
answer just a couple more things. First,
Mm-hmm.
you have an organization called Daredream, and for those watching, I'm actually going to post a banner here on the bottom so that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to daredream.co, you can get to Alicia's website and learn a little bit more about what she does. But for those that are out there right now that
Mm-hmm.
have this big dream, something they've been thinking
Mm.
about for maybe just this year or 4 years, and they feel stuck, what are some things that you would say to them right now to move forward?
Do it. Like, do it afraid. Do it even if you are. I know they say God is didn't give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. But we do sometimes get afraid, right? And you got to start somewhere, instead of thinking. I deal with a lot of people who have dreams for business. They have an idea, they want to do something, and they're waiting for everything to align, for everything to be perfect, right? Then I will step out. But there is no such thing. There is no perfect path to this entrepreneurship, and it looks different. It depends on
That's
whose
right.
hands it is in, right? Because
Yes.
we're bringing our experiences. I mean, we're different, and that is beautiful, and that is okay. But you as you start to do the work, your perspective is gonna change, right? You have a hazy vision right now for a business. I want to create a business, whatever God has put on your heart. Well, you ain't gonna know all the steps. I mean, gosh, he didn't give you. Then we would have no need for him. I guess what I'm saying. Like, so here you are with the best, like, of your ability, what you know. We're gonna create a plan, and this is the kind of stuff that I work on with people. We're gonna figure out some way of taking that idea and turning it into a model that you can take to market and begin testing. When I say testing, like, you have something that you put in someone's hands and then you get feedback,
Mhm.
right? You need that quickly. So, which is why I feel like in the first 3 months, I want to have you get some clarity around
Yeah.
what is that thing that
Mhm.
you're supposed to do. So we're factoring in your skills, your gifts, right? Like what you feel that you're good at, what you have done, what you're excited about, because it's also important. And I'm going to try to wrap up soon. I know you said we only have a few minutes. That that be a part of what you're doing, like something that you enjoy and you derive energy from it is always important. So I'm always looking for that as well, because when it gets hard, I don't want you to just get going because this didn't mean as much to you, right? So there's that. But then we look at the many problems that there are out there to be solved, and you and your gifts and the problems out there, and just kind of look at them. Which of these can I best, with what I know, can I solve over here? Can I, and let's try to see what we can come up with together. This is why the community is so important. The inside, the collective wisdom of people. We come together and we're working to help you come up with something that you can actually take to market. Let's see. So you get feedback from people and you develop it further. And this is part of the journey until you develop product market fit. And you will know when you get there, like a lot of people are raising their hands. It's like, I want this, right? Because we can die on our ideals. We die on our ideas. Like nobody is asking for this, but you know what? I am going to create it anyways. That is not a sustainable model, right? If you feel good, I did something, but we're trying to figure out something that will sustain, something that people actually want, some problem that you're actually solving. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So before we end, what are the ways that folks can now get a hold of you? And what are some programs that you're currently working on that the listeners can get tapped into to get access to what you're doing?
I know. Well, tomorrow, and it's kind of last minute, but tomorrow we have a co-working session, which we're going to be addressing like 10 questions that I think every new entrepreneur should have answers to. So this is like foundation work. If you're going to start a business, you need to figure out what these things that you should know, right? To get you going, and you build on it. So that is tomorrow. But then if you miss tomorrow, I'm going to do it again in next month, July, on the 21st. So there is that. We also do peer group coaching. These are small groups, and it's intentionally so, where it's no more than 6 people, where we come together in different times. I have 5 different sessions available, but we are coaching around these foundational precepts, faith and work, and helping you to move from, that feeling of stuck to where you want to be in your business. So that's pretty much, what we got going on right now. I mean, there are a lot of other things. We do networking socials once a month, but you can find all of that at daredream.co. And, there's a way to contact me there as well on the site. And I'm happy I'll respond. I respond to everyone. So, yeah.
Excellent. And so all of these comments, just for those of you watching, and Frank is very excited. He said he thinks God wanted him to hear you today, Alicia. So he is very encouraged by what you're saying.
You made my day, Frank. I love to hear that. Even if it's, I love that. That's all I want to do. Encourage and bless someone. Yeah.
And that you have.
Amen.
All of these things, for those of you listening, watching, it will be posted in the comments on the podcast, which will get released on either Apple or Spotify, actually both. But depending on if you're on an Apple platform or if you're on a non-Apple platform, I figure those two cover the gambit. So I will make sure those links get posted so that you can reach out to Alicia if you're interested. I'll have my links there as well, so that if you want to reach out to me, Alicia, this has been an amazing time. It always is. I feel like every time we talk is an encouraging time for both of us. And I thoroughly enjoy you. And I'm grateful for the time that you spent and gave to us today and sharing your mission. You remind me once again how good God is and what we're capable of, and just the gift of being able to live out and to be, I'll use a play on words here, to dare to dream. Right? Dare to dream and to actually be able to go after that. What a blessing that is. So thank you once again for being on with us, and you have a wonderful day. For those of you listening, remember to lead well, live on purpose, and honor God with your life. Have a great one.
Thank you.